session 4 of Reign of Crows. This is the Fate month that I'm running. This is a hack of Fate Accelerated with some pieces taken from Dresden Files, Accelerated, and some other places, in an attempt to get kind of a higher level game, Game of Thrones style. And the group has been, well, let's say they've kind of pivoted in terms of how people pictured themselves over the course of this. And things are definitely in motion now. So I'm going to have everyone introduce themselves, and we're going to roll through. So, Patrick, tell us about your character.
So Hawthorne Solrin is a mage of the Duskwood Society. He's recently returned to his family, and sort of after being taken off and taught for years and years in apprenticeship, sort of trying to find that balance of where he sits in the world now, which has not been made easier by the fact that he recently ventured out into the wildwoods with Kerwolf, his father, and a bunch of troops, and none of that went well, and a bunch of people died, and now he's hearing slight voices in his head. His feet are getting a little bit, barky, but that's all normal, I'm sure.
Yes, it is. Thank you. Kerwolf, please tell us about yourself.
So Kerwolf has been one of the commanders for the family for a long time, and he's always put his family first, having a real solid view of his worldview. But since his venturing into the woods with his son, he's finding his loyalties being questioned here. And so Kerwolf is having a real midlife crisis about what to do right now. With one level, he wants to help his son, and on the other side, he wants to murder every mage. So he kind of hates himself because he knows he's going to despise himself no matter which one he chooses.
Awesome. Rebecca Solren.
Rebecca Solren is been successful in her endeavors in the past session, and probably kind of shown her true colors as a real member of the skullduging type of class of people, where she has manipulated one of her cousins into killing her enemy, and successfully advanced the family in that kind of a way, while getting her enemies to fight while kind of stepping the conflict.
Yeah, that was a solid scene. Very solid last time. Rudapest.
Let's see here. Rudapest is kind and dutiful and the expected heir to the head of the family. And things are going a little bit differently than she expected them to. It's okay. She can handle it. She's sure. There must be a way. It'll be okay. Don't worry.
Awesome. So let me come back to you, Hawthorne. In the montage, if we see a brief scene of you that tells us something about you, maybe something we don't know, or deepening of something else, what would we see?
So I think we see him sort of in the society house here at what is our castle? Wren's Nest.
Wren's Nest.
Yeah. And we sort of get this wide shot zoom in because it's a fairly large suite that's meant for half a dozen mages to be working in, and we get like these empty workstations and these empty podiums where there should be other mages and there no longer are. And Hawthorne is there with a giant map laid out in front of him. He's got incense burning at the corners, and he's sprinkling a dust over it. And he seems to, you just get these like cut shots of him doing the same repetitive action over and over again, trying desperately. You see him looking through the notes from Branch Irala about the thorns and stuff like that, and he's just trying and seems to keep hitting up against the same wall.
Excellent. And then what about for Kerwolf? What's the flash we see of you in this scene?
You see Kerwolf, he's out with some of the other soldiers, and they're drinking. And then it just sort of, that you see that he's trying to sort of be jolly there. And then you just catch a scene of the rest of them all talking and him just sitting sort of by himself, staring into his own drink, muttering into himself. Cuts to a scene later that night, and he is literally just passed out there at the bar. No care for himself, literally just sleeping, sleeping there, just trying to forget himself.
Excellent. Rebecca, what about yourself?
You see Rebecca there's the manor or whatever our home is, and just outside of that there is what looks like would be like an abandoned kind of cottage or something, and she's inside there, and by candlelight has maps and notes and all manner of things, and it looks like she's planning her next move.
No trace of any kind of regret. All good. All right, so let me talk about things that have occurred as we move in to this next season. Certainly, by the time this season is coming to an end, Irala, I mean, they've lost the host of their army. They've lost their great generals. Lonor has been pressing against them. They are on the ropes. The only thing that keeps them from falling. Oh God, I did that, didn't I? Because I'm so used to Sherry going first. So Sherry, God, what a jackass your husband is.
It's my favorite jackass. But okay, let's see here. I think that the scene you see is she's in the family shrine to the old gods, and she's praying. And next to her is one of the priests from the old church that's come to visit. She sort of, they stand up, and she turns to him and she goes, "Of course we'll honor our debts." And she goes, "We will do everything that we can. But you must look into this situation. You are preaching to the people who already believe. But it's the other church that's the threat here." And she kind of goes, "I will meet with you again tomorrow morning, breakfast." She sort of turns to go, and she walks into essentially the hallway down it's like this big hallway with all of these rooms off to the thing. She picks seems like she's gone down quite a way. She turns into another room. There's a group of people that you've seen before in different times, clearly her friends. And she sort of comes in, looks like she's completely relieved to be with them, sits down, draws the one to her that we already know is a mage, and says, "Now, what are your plans?" And everyone's all gathered around. They're drinking. They have, different kinds of glasses, so clearly they all have different preferences. And he goes, and her friend tells her that he's going to stay, and she goes, "Still, you can go to the Ark. Won't you consider it in this time?" And he goes, and essentially very clearly he's going to stay, and she just sort of nods, and then one of her friends essentially hits him over the head.
Yep.
And essentially they essentially goes, "Okay, get him to the ship. We'll get him to the Ark." And that's what you see. So
awesome. I love it. Irala is saved, not destroyed, but just a few, not many left. They are nearly scattered to the winds, and it's only because of the disruption caused by the loss of the head of house for Lone Or, that actually kind of pulls them back a bit from that. Since Lone Or had been pushed towards that conflict, they are pulling back. There is more news of mages being corrupted, of mages, the some that remain, apparently having heard a new darker call that has gone out across the land, and they have left and gone into the woods. As I mentioned, the head of the household of Lone Or was murdered by dark magics, and they have taken that to heart. Lady Naisune has taken over for Lord Cordell. As you guys set up last time, the academy, the university, they have packed up and scattered to the winds. They have dispersed scholars throughout the land, and then a bulk of them also heading out to the Ark and seeking other protections. Of course, the wedding between the heir and the House Reykjavik is on schedule for this season. So that is coming up. Two things that happened during the season that perhaps weren't on the table as much. One is that I had mentioned there had been some tension with the Royal Army and some jockeying there. That comes to a head when the Royal Army essentially storms the barracks of the Gauntlets and dispatches most of them. They cite the fact that they were using dark magics, using magics to train themselves and learn, and that those are suspect. And they use that opportunity to, they don't completely destroy them, but they certainly damage them severely. And the Royal Army gains in status there. There's also the revelation that part of the trouble that the Lone Oars were having is that dark portals have been opening in their realm. And that kind of leads into what is happening right now in Lone Or. There are things that are starting to disrupt and emerge from the mines. And most of the mining operations in Lone Or have come to a halt. The miners are rioting and refusing to work. And Lone Or is trying to figure out a way to deal with these things. At the same time, the Queen Regent has imposed a new levy, calling for additional monies to come to support the current operations and defenses of the realm against this threat. The Merchants Guild people are whispering about right now. They have kept steady neutrality throughout this, and now the rumor is starting to go around that they may have been supplying agents of the woods, that they may have been giving them shelter or material or goods, and that is starting to float about. And then the last thing is the Royal Army, fresh from having killed off the Gauntlets, moves in and is seizing all of the former chantries. Any place where the mages used to set up household, they are taking possession of them regardless of whose lands they lie in.
What about the Duskwood Society Center itself?
They are moving on that. I mean, it's a skeleton crew left there, and they are moving to seize it. And most of the mages are fleeing. They recognize what will happen if they are caught by the army.
I have to say, I'm starting to feel really unwelcome here, and it's sort of uncomfortable.
The mages who have remained are either corrupted or they're tied to somebody potent. I mean, they are the household mages of a particular family or a particular organization, and that seems to have given them shelter, and people don't move against them. Any questions about that? So let us take up back at Wren's Nest, as outside the leaves are starting to turn. The cool winds are starting to come in across the land. Can feel that chill as things begin to shift in the seasons here. And Lord Belloc has finished talking with a number of different agents from across the empire, his people, churchmen and beyond, and he has called all of you in to speak, and he has you sit down, and he will say, Hawthorne.
My lord.
You are a valued member of this household. You are a soul Wren through and through. Know that you are under my protection, whatever you do, if you serve this house.
Thank you. That is a great weight off of my mind. There is an unknown darkness spreading through people's hearts, and I fear what ignorant people may react to.
I hope that the power that you gained in going into the woods will be an asset to us against these forces.
Of course, it is already illuminating the path. I feel I'm very close to seeing the way forward.
Excellent, excellent. I know you must be troubled by the loss of your friends, those mages that you took with you.
They're empty places. They haunt me. They call to me, and I feel I must do better next time.
So, my friends, my family, I look to you. We have many situations in hand, and I am at a crossroads, as it were, as to where we should move and where we should throw our alliance. And I would ask you for your advice.
This chaos, this unrest in every corner, I see the lines, I see the hand behind it. It all points back to the Wild Wood and the Black-Rooted King. I still believe he is our greatest enemy. The corruption around Deoto, it grows by the day. This is something that must be addressed.
The king is won. I think we're fighting a losing battle here. It's time to come up with a contingency plan.
A contingency plan? What would a contingency plan look like, my brother?
I think we need to get the heir, and I think we need to get our wealth overseas. I think we need to have a plan for evacuation here. I think the Black-Root King cannot be defeated.
That is a dark statement, and one that surprises me from you, but
I will stay here and fight, but I don't think this is a battle we will be victorious in.
We play to our weaknesses if we stand and fight. We must redirect the forces that are on this continent already to do what they ought to be doing now, rather than focusing on ancillary activities. We need to redirect the royal army. We need to shame them into protecting this realm instead of pursuing their own foolish ends.
It's good. That seems better than just asking our family and the entire country to just uproot and run?
Not the entire country, just our family.
I will not be labeled as those who abandoned the kingdom. Not in these hours.
Well,
But-
make plans for an escape if you need them.
Fair enough. I will heed your thoughts on that. Budapest.
I agree with Rebecca. And I think that we need to gather the people that might be able to create the weapons that can strike the king. And someone needs to think about how to handle the queen.
Do you mean the heir or do you mean the queen?
The queen. And she says he has set her up, and that is meant to weaken the rest of us.
All right. So our goals now in this troubled season are to turn what forces we can to the proper ends to face against the Black-Rooted King, to find what weapons we can to use against the Black-Rooted King, whether it be to make new ones or to find these thorns that remain, and to support where we can. I will also see to, and he pauses for a bit before he says this, I will see to the viability of what you have said, Kerwolf. I will not dismiss it. I will certainly look to how we might protect those most vulnerable within our household.
At least send the youngest away.
I will strongly consider that. I will have the ambassador from Redania come, and I will speak with them in quiet. So I think I can trust you to look to those things. Is there anything else we should discuss or plan here before we set ourselves to the grindstone? Fair enough.
Hawthorne,
Yes.
where will we find these weapons?
I'm still trying to determine that. Their location is
How many lives have to die, boy, before you can get results?
hopefully not too many more.
That's all there needs to be.
Kerwolf, Belloc interrupts.
Yeah.
You are the head of the bodyguard, but I will point out to you that your son holds equal rank within this room.
Understood.
And he looks to you, Hawthorne, and he will say, I will leave you to it then. May the grace of the old gods go with you, that we should survive this storm.
So, like, as soon as he dismisses us, Hawthorne, like, gets up and just sweeps out of the room. And I think, like, all of the lanterns and the candles, just as he's going by, they lean in towards him. Probably just the wind of his violent passing.
Okay. Not drawn to his chi like in Hero. Okay.
What? No.
All right. So I would like to move to the seasonal actions. What you would like to do. Again, I would like to make sure that when you do an action, that you bring either someone along or you have them assist you with a flashback or do some secondary works to follow up on that. Does that seem reasonable?
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm going to stick with the order that I have, which puts you squarely in the sights to start here, Patrick.
Ah, dang it. So yeah, I'm trying to track down these other 4 thorns.
Okay.
I have the notes scattered and sort of mentally broken as they may be from Branch about his work to find the one. And yeah, I need to work up some way to find at least one of the others. Ideally, find all four.
You also have an aspect on the table that we didn't quite write down. A drunken but knowledgeable scholar that is in your care. So that is in hand. So how do you go about this, and who assists you in this process? Who would you like to ask to help out?
I think maybe Rebecca. She seems the best at sort of hidden knowledge, uncovering secrets, and she owes me.
That is very true. So Rebecca, if you're going to assist Hawthorne in his studies and his research and information, how would you go about doing that?
And this is, say again for me, the specific knowledge that we're seeking.
The location of the other 4 thorn blades, the blades that were used to take down the Black-Rooted King originally, one of which Branch broke, and that's what infected him. Sort of.
Sort of. Don't think there's a sort of.
I would probably try and infiltrate the king's scrutiny to find answers.
Okay. So essentially, we're going to be we have a scene of you doing that. How would you? What would be your process for infiltrating your agents, or do you go as well?
Yeah, all of the above.
Okay.
This would be like definitely a seasonal kind of action, because it's not just one person we need to question. We need to question lots of people.
Okay. So the King's scrutiny still remains strong. They have a trouble aspect you can invoke against them. The being denounced by the church, so that gives you, an easy aspect to freely invoke. So let's. I think. What do you want to describe your approach as? Subtlety or wits?
Let me see. Yeah, wits.
Okay. All right. So wits and skullduggery start you at a 5. Bless you. We can assume that you will invoke their trouble aspect to take you up to a 7. Their difficulty right now is a 12. But you've got some stuff that you can do to overcome that.
Right. So just go ahead and roll these and see where it gets us to.
Absolutely. You could roll really well.
I'm at +1 on the roll.
Okay, so you're at an 8 versus a 12.
Okay. And I'm helping Hawthorne, so how's Hawthorne involved in this, or did he just ask me to do this for him?
Yeah, what you're doing is you're going to get some information and set him up, and then we'll come to his half of this scene.
I see.
Does he provide magical assistance to you in this?
I could see that, yeah. How exactly are you, I'm sorry, getting the information out of them?
I mean, it depends on who's getting questioned and how just willing they are to answer. Like, I think a lot of these meetings are probably informal, like the they'll show up to like wealthy people's homes and ask to see their library and ask to talk to their scholar. But then like if there's somebody who seems to be hiding something or they find information about hidden knowledge, they might just, you know, kosh somebody, bring them into an interrogation room and pump them for information in a more forceful way.
Okay. I think Hawthorne gives you a couple of bottles of wine to take to these meetings. It has a very rich, sort of woody flavor to it. Something to loosen them up a little more than they would normally expect from just wine.
Oh, I'll give you a boost on that. We won't need to roll. How's that sound?
Okay.
So you're at a 9, David.
Okay.
And we'll assume that we see the various people meeting. You probably also find like a particular contact who's maybe disgruntled with their role within the scrutiny, a guy named Launius. And so he becomes kind of a person that we see you interacting with. So you're at a 9.
Okay. I'll invoke my master manipulator aspect to just have it be so that I'm coordinating this really efficiently. So it's not like there's not a lot of wasted time.
Perfect. The rush through, you are planning to maximize your efforts here. So that takes you to an 11.
Okay. And then I guess I'm just going to mark stress. This is just micromanaging this whole operation is just taxing.
Okay. So that'll take you to a 12. Now you could push it higher to get more results. You've got your spies, you've got your legendary, got a number of other options as well.
You have 2 aspects you haven't filled in yet.
Yeah. I will fill in the second aspect, the second blank aspect now, to be secretly ruthless.
Oh, good.
I don't know how much of a secret that is.
Well, I don't think anybody in the family besides Hawthorne knows about it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
True.
certainly Rudapest wouldn't believe that. So.
As the viewing audience, we all
Yes,
know.
the viewing audience.
The viewing audience knows it. Polite society doesn't.
Okay. So that's a 14. Are you happy with that, or you want to go higher?
No, we'll stop at 14.
Okay. So what I will do is I will give you a question, and then I'm going to give that as a create advantage for his action. Does that seem reasonable?
So he's getting a +2, I guess, is the outcome of all this.
Yep. Or you could trade in your question to boost him up even more.
No, I'm more interested in the fictional positioning of getting the answer to the question.
So when you're speaking with Launius, you know he has inside information on what's going on across the board. Again, disgruntled, he has been passed over, and he is your way in. He thinks he is speaking with an agent of the Crow, and that's made him very excited about that. And he will say, "What is it? What is it you wish to know?" The scrutiny has fingers in every pot. Though not literally.
And I'm in disguise right now. It's not, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And I just don't laugh. Like I'm just sitting there. And I think I've brought like just like a big guy with me to just kind of stand there and crack his knuckles. And I just like look up at him, like see if he thinks it's funny at all, and then look back at Lonnie. It's just like,
sorry. We're not much for the jokes in the scrutiny, as you may know.
Tell me what you have found out about the location of one of these items.
what I have found is that it is said in ancient works that we have found records of that one of the swords was given into the hands of each family. And as you can imagine, where would the lone oars hide their sword?
So,
yes.
which family? So presumably the Aralas have destroyed theirs.
Yes.
Yeah. And the royals did not keep one?
No, they were passed out, given that the royal family itself was a weapon. Look to the oldest closed mine of the lone oars, though it may be difficult to get at them these days. I trust you will tell your master of my assistance.
He is aware.
Excellent, excellent.
He will not pass over you should his need arise.
I am but a humble servant.
We'll be in touch. I look up at the knuckle cracker, and he puts a bag over the other guy's head while we leave.
Okay. And then there's a moment where the knuckle cracker kind of looks at you, does a, oh, do I kill him now? Or, oh, okay. And we move on. So let's come to Hawthorne, your half of this action. What is it? How do we see you doing the research on this?
Okay, so that actually really helps. There were 5 blades split up amongst the 4 families, and I'm just going to go out on a limb and assume that either the Duskwood or the Bleeding Heart got the 5th.
Oh, no. There are 5 families because you're not counting your own.
Wait, what?
First Perfect, Irala, Relwyn, Lonor, and Solren.
Yes, we should already have one of these, but we don't know about it.
Huh. Okay. Sorry, just thinking through that.
Sure.
I've already killed most of the people that might know where ours is. That's problematic.
Yeah.
But I could start with First Perfect and Relwyn.
Okay.
You are not helping anything. So I think there's sort of a montage scene of dark and misty nights. You have like out on the ship city, the Ark. There's storm fog that comes in over the night, and like one of the First Perfect mages is walking across the deck alone, and the fog sort of sweeps in, and there's some noises and struggle, and a couple minutes later when the fog leaves, like he's accidentally gotten caught up in some of the rigging and is sort of hung there from the ropes. And there's a scene like on the roads as the last of the Duskwood scholars are escaping from the chapter house as like the royal army is moving in on it. And there's one of the Relwyn mages there that when they stop for the night, you see just like vines and plants coming in and creeping closer to him and pulling him off silently into the night. As I sort of go on an illusion-y magic campaign of targeting mages from these particular families that I think would be high enough up in their hierarchy to know something about this, and sort of torturing them for information, and then trying to make, at least in most circumstances, it look like some sort of accident happened to them.
Ooh, went dark.
What? No.
Which family, Relwyn or First Perfect? Of the two,
Where do I
First
think
Perfect is easier.
Loyalty. Yeah, but the Relwyns, they have that despised by their people. They're about to move into engagement to the air. If theirs was going to pop up and start causing trouble, it would be now.
Okay. So let's look at your approaches. So what do you want to call this horrific campaign?
Subtlety and magic.
That sounds reasonable to me. So starting at a 4.
I think I want to mark a box of power for Bane.
Okay.
To give the Relwyns a trouble.
What should we call that?
Sorry, blanking
what should
out.
We call that? Oh, that's okay. You had revelations about some of them being tied to the new gods.
Crap. This is where my brain is failing me for fate.
That's okay.
I guess don't do that if I can't think of anything good.
Okay. All right. That's fair enough. Why don't we roll, and then we'll see what else what you can use to bring to bear to boost. Sound good?
Yeah.
Okay. So right now you're at a 4. Go ahead and roll.
+2.
Nice. So you're at a 6, which is good because the difficulty is 12. You can invoke the despised. That'll get you to an 8.
Oh, the Relwyn thing?
Yep.
Gotcha. Despised by the people. All right. And I definitely think I'm going to spend fate point for let's say Blood of the Evermist. That seems the appropriate one here.
All right. You're at 10.
Then indebted to the church, after I went to all that trouble to, that's one of my trouble aspects, but after I went to all of that trouble to get the church's focus off of the Duskwood Society, is there like someone in there that I know that still has a hit list, including some of these Relwyns, of a Bleeding Heart member that hasn't gone along with the let's forgive the mages thing?
Sure.
I want to, I guess I'll spend that, get a fate point for that.
Okay.
I don't know. And spend that on the world as a canvas and magic finest paint.
Okay. So that takes you to a tie, I believe.
And just as a mechanical question, I've been curious about, what are the In Peril and Doomed boxes?
So what that is that can get you a big bonus on things. It's a huge cost pay. But when you've got that marked, it means essentially you've given me permission to use hard moves against you, and things will happen.
I like in
Well, you
peril.
marked in peril. Yeah, mark that.
So what's that? +4
Yeah,
at this point?
that's perfect.
All right. And I think I want to, as a last push there, lose a stunt.
Okay.
I think the wardings goes away as this like giving into the powers and whims of the wildwood in a way is getting rid of my ability to interfere in other supernatural goings
Perfect.
on.
So you can have 4 things. Let's start with the first thing, which is the question. You can locate the thorn. It is, in fact, at Castle Relwyn. It is in one of the towers there that they have stored it away there at the castle, which they believe is their strength and their power.
It is the strongest castle in the land.
It is. What else do you want here? Questions or advantages or something to happen?
I no. I want this to somehow come back on the Lone Oars because that seems like a fun game that I haven't gotten in on.
Okay. Well, technically you have when you murdered their lord.
Yeah, blah blah blah. And I want to see if out of any of this I can dig up some hint about the Black Blade itself, the Black-Rooted King's blade, which I think we had heard sort of a rumor that maybe the royal family had taken it when they defeated the Black-Rooted King last time, but I don't really have any information about what's happened to it since then.
Okay, I'll answer that question. It was in the royal tombs, and it was taken when, at the very start of this, the tombs were raided. So you expect that sword is in the hands of the king himself or the queen.
Gotcha.
Got 2 more.
Questions?
Questions or great advantage or do something else, have something happen.
I think I want to create an advantage related to that magnificent, totally impregnable castle.
Okay.
That it is strong and amazing and would hold off any sort of large-scale assault that came after it, but that these Relwyn mages, especially with the recent things of like having to escape in the night and run away from people that want to burn them at stakes,
Okay.
there are ways in and out for smaller groups.
Okay. We'll just call that ways in and out. Do you want to have 2 invokes on that?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. So then we are set. Yes, you've established that there are gaps by the absence of the mages that provided problems for security for them that are ways in. Sound good?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to cut from you to Kerwolf. Kerwolf, what's your intent here?
So Relwyn, you shared this information. We all know about the Relwyn blade.
Yeah. Generally, we assume that.
I don't share exactly how I got it, but
right.
No, I don't particularly care here. Rudapest. So I kind of want to partner with Rudapest on this one. I kind of want her advice.
Okay.
So Kerwin will approach her. He'll catch her at one of sit down next to you at one of the evening meals. Sit down across from you.
You're muted.
I think.
Unmuted now. Sorry about that. She always gives you her complete attention.
We know where one of these blades is, and I think we need to bring it into action now.
Okay.
I think we need to come up with a situation where I can either duel them for it, or we can demand that they bring forth a champion to wield that blade into battle. So I think maybe with your help we can out this as public knowledge and force them to bring this weapon to bear.
She goes, that is a good idea. In fact, we need to make it clear that all the families have those and they need to bring them out.
That is...
I will get
Yes.
that going.
That is...
Okay.
Now, what I think we need, though, is we need the strongest warriors to wield these blades. So we need to make sure that when the families bring out their blades, they provide someone worthy to carry them. Perhaps.
Would you like to carry? And she sort of stops and goes, "Would you like to carry family Soul Ren's thorn?"
If I was deemed worthy and there was not a better warrior, I would appreciate that honor.
All right.
So it sounds like you're going to try and set something up, and Kerwolf's going to follow off on that. Does that seem what I'm hearing?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
So what is your goal then?
Okay, so my goal is to essentially, how should we say, disseminate to the kingdom that these thorns exist. That puts pressure on the families to step forward, and with a champion. So essentially, there's the whole thing of there's this upcoming wedding, right? Doesn't that seem like the thing where the thorns of each family should attend? So we still have an alliance with the household, the royal household. So I probably would start with getting that word to them that needs to circulate through the royal household, since the regent is already asking for taxes and things like that. She needs to add that to her demands.
All right. So what do you want to call that? Charisma and probably wealth,
because it's about money.
Yep.
Yes.
So that'll start you at a 5.
Yeah, and then I roll and it'll be worse.
I'm going to tap my troops.
Okay.
So my soldiers are going to be at your disposal to deliver these messages and make sure they get out there.
Okay. Awesome.
Right. So we go to a 7.
Okay.
And the difficulty is a 9.
Oh, okay. I, of course, roll 0 again, because I always roll 0.
Yes.
I still have a spend on agents in the capital. There's an invoke on them if you would like to use that.
Oh, awesome. I will take agents in the castle. That gets us to...
You're at 9. You're at a tie right now.
Okay.
That is...
So...
Those agents are the town's watch, just so you know.
Right.
Okay. I have a set of connections that what it does is it is specifically for bringing the faction into line. And I think that I can... What is our faction with the royal... We have the alliance, but they're also, what is the strength of the royal household?
A royal household strength is 5. Your relationship is -2.
Okay, so I can bring that to 0 with a couple of uses of my connections.
Okay.
So that gives us another +2.
Yep.
Towards that.
So you're up by 2.
Right. And I will put a, let's see here. I can add a permanent aspect to a location. I don't know if that's how I want to do that. Hold on a second. I think instead what I will do is I'll use stress for this to get it another 2.
Okay.
Reasonable.
That seems reasonable to me. So the first thing you're trying to do is establish that they will call for the champions from the various houses to come and bring the thorns, to find and bring the thorns from their household, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay. The message is sent out, the soldiers go across the land, and what is the second thing? You've got another effect you can.
Let's see here. I think that one of the things will have to be let's see here, that they need to name their champion. Okay.
Okay.
I don't know if that counts as a thing, as a difficulty for the family. It does, however, make it hard for the Arala since they have no thorn or champion at this point.
Right. Well, there's very few of them left.
Okay. Let's see here. What else should we? I guess I'll just give the advantage to Corwin to use for whatever he wants.
Okay. So, Kerwolf, how do you want to play on this? It looks to me like we're setting up for a big scene at the end, at the wedding. We're getting champions to come, things like that. What do you want to do for your seasonal action? Then you've got that support on that.
So we got this. The call's gone out. We got all the champions who are going to be coming.
They are in the process. So that is being decided. Is something you want to manipulate with that?
No, that's what I wanted.
Okay. All right.
Glad I could help.
So we got what we wanted there. So this is what I want in addition to that.
Okay.
I want these champions to. Well, we got the family's champions coming in, so I want sort of a crusade here. I want the champions to get complete control over the military, the army. I want the army to be beholden to these champions, so that they can bring the forces of the realm to bear. Okay.
Let's have you. You're putting pressure on the royal army. It sounds like.
Yes. So I want to make sure the royal army is in line before this wedding, so that they'll be available for these champions.
Okay. Well, you have some stuff here right now. If you want to try and push that on the royal army, I think that would be. Well, it's definitely military, and they are certainly much more powerful than you.
But they have the troubled nobles in the ranks.
That's true.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go right to the top with their military commanders.
Okay.
And so those are the ones, and I am going to. You know what? This is charisma. I think I'm going to try to tell them. You better get on board with this. Well, like this is what's needed. This is what the army was created for: the defense of the realm.
Right.
So, well, I am going to gather the champions together, and then your army's job is going to be to get the champions to the Blackwood King, and we need the army to be ready to deliver them.
Okay. So you will talk with Lady Romana. She is the head of the royal army. You'll speak with her. You're starting at a 6. They have that potent force, and that's by the 6 with the nobles in the rank invoking, and the difficulty is a 12.
Okay. That nobles in the rank. Did I need to spend a fate point to invoke that, or that was?
No, that's a free invoke. That'll pay for that since we're using that.
Okay, and do I need to roll first or spend my invokes now?
Yeah, you should roll that. I mean, you might roll +4. I did that the other night.
Okay. Well, I rolled a -1. I rolled the blue dice.
Okay, so you're at 5 right now versus a 12.
All right, so let's spend the hero of Ashen's Ford. So I'll spend a fate point for that.
Okay, you're at a 7.
7, and I'm going to reveal a new aspect.
Okay.
I'm going to give her my bond that I'm with this, and the aspect I wanted to do is I break bones before words.
Okay. So that's a 9.
So, that's to let them know that this is on the up and up. I'm full, I'm on board with them. And then you get a +1 for taking a stress, or a +2. How does
+1 for stress?
+1 for stress.
Yep.
And we're at a difficulty of a 12, and I'm at a 9.
Yep.
So let's spend 1 stress to get it to a 10.
Okay.
And I'll spend a fate point to invoke the agents in the capital. Does that work? The town watch
absolutely.
to come onto my side.
Okay, so you get a tie right there.
So that's a tie.
So they'll do it grudgingly at this point.
Did you invoke the advantage that I had with my additional victories?
Oh no, you didn't. Yeah, he can
better
do that
use
to
that.
push yourself to 14.
So I'll invoke that to get to the 14.
Lady Romana, she thinks on this. She will say to you, I will do this. There are eligible gentlemen in your household of rank.
Which ones?
I could. She says I couldn't care less, but if I do this, you will get me a husband and you will get me a title.
If that's all you want, easy.
All right then. And she will nod. Then you will have our support.
I need the troops assembled by the time of the wedding. After this wedding, I mean to campaign.
Understood. Let's cut from that scene to Rebecca. What about your seasonal action?
So, what else do we need to move?
Well, you don't have the blade for your household.
Yeah, that's weird. Like, that should be really, really obvious where that ended up. I feel like I would just ask the head of the house about it.
He'll say, I do not know. That is not something I had ever heard of before this time. So I am uncertain where it is. Though if you wish to hunt, if you wish to quest for it, I will put whatever resources you require.
Yes, some of the house archivist, he should know about this.
They'll summon him for you, and of course they'll summon Zilsaron, who's unpleasantly sober. So he's very angry all the time when he's not drunk. And you can certainly call on them. How do you want to? What do we want to do? Do we want to kind of do this as montaging how you find it?
Sure.
Okay. Then just describe to me. Let's do a roll. I want to see sort of the general ranking here. What is the work? How does Rebecca go about on what is generally considered like an adventurer's quest?
I mean, if it's in our household, I wouldn't expect this would be a very adventure-y kind of quest. This would just be like reading a whole lot of old books for a really long time, trying to figure out where it is or what became of it, like who has it now, and then like going from there. It might turn into that kind of adventure-y kind of quest if it turns out we don't have it or something like that. But
okay, well, let's do wits. Wits plus knowledge.
Okay.
Can I help her out?
Yeah.
I have second sight, which is all about understanding magic and magical things. Could I try and create an advantage for her?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Wits and magic, probably.
Yep. Go ahead and roll.
Let's say +2, +6 total.
Okay. So you'll get 2 free invokes then on your thing. Go ahead and roll, David.
I am at a -1 on the roll.
Okay. So you're at a 3 plus his 2 invokes takes it to a 7. Difficulty is a 10.
So we saved that scholar guy. Are we getting anything from that?
You could invoke him.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Okay. So that takes you to a 9 out of 10.
Okay.
Flying with a little liquor, so he's a little less obnoxious. Yeah, it wasn't with the blades. Yeah.
Maybe not that much liquor.
Oh, no! Wait, no! Don't take it away.
And yeah, I just need 1 point. So like stress is the only way I can get just 1 point, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll do that.
All right. So this is what I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you where it is, and I want you to give me the montage of how you get it.
Okay.
It was on a ship that sank just offshore of Wren's Nest.
Oh man, that's obnoxious. And this is a seasonal action, right?
Yeah.
We have to, like, I oversee the construction of a tower. Like that's the only way you could really get something out of the bottom of the ocean here, or a deep area. Is you'd have to move all kinds of rock there and build it up, and then you'd build a tower downward after you manage to get all the water bilged out. So I'm going to say we have a tower out in the middle of the ocean. That might be a good place to hide some family.
Okay.
And at the bottom of the tower, in the ocean, is this ship, and probably no one freaking knows about it, but the people who built it and Rebecca.
Okay.
Oh, that's insane and amazing.
And probably you got assistance from people from the Ark. They would have lent their knowledge on that. Do you have good relations with them?
I imagine they helped move a lot of the soil and rock out there.
And do we get a shot of Rebecca going down into the ship?
Yeah. I think like that's the last scene, is like in the basement of this dark and dingy tower where it's probably still moist from the recent construction. And the fact that it's on the ocean floor, this far below water level, going into the shipwreck and finding the blade. What's the state of the blade?
There's the treasure chest. Everything is covered with the muck. There's old skeletons that are covered with the coral and algae, and you'll find this case that is rotted and decayed. But when you pull it open and that soft wood kind of gives, there is a blade laying there. It looks like it is carved of some kind of pure chestnut looking wood, that kind of dark, reddish brown, and it is perfectly preserved. There's no way this should be like this.
I'll just go ahead and say that Kerwolf is here with me, like standing alongside me, and I hand it to him.
I am going to introduce another thing before you hand it to him. Okay. And I want to take up sort of on the ship as you come and bring it up, if I may, that when you take the sword and go to hand it to Kerwolf, that Hawthorne is there. And you will see that Hawthorne is, to your eyes, blackened and made of wood.
Dooby-dooby-doo.
I think I just like fumble and drop the sword. Does he continue to look that way?
Nope.
What's wrong with the blade? You all right?
Kerwolf, come with me.
Understood.
And I'll take him into the cabin and like kind of discuss this out of earshot, and ask him what he thinks we should do.
Let's talk to Hawthorne. Maybe he has an explanation.
I was afraid you would just try and kill him. So that's why I separated you before giving you the sword.
Anyone else, I would have.
All right. And I'll give you the sword at this point. Like, maybe it's just what the magic users look like if you yield the sword.
Perhaps. Perhaps we tell everyone I have the sword and you hold on to it.
Don't know what good that would do us.
In case there's any thievery about for the time being. I think it's safer with you than me. Who knows? This crow may try to steal it.
I don't know if the crow's interested in hampering the ability to fight the Darkwood.
All right, well, I'll take it then if you think it's safe enough.
And do you hand it to him? Do you give that to Kerwolf then?
Yeah, I think that it would make sense. Like, we're all here. Like, Budapest would probably be here too. What does she think?
Okay.
I think when she hears that, she kind of nods and she goes, "We'll see if we can save him. If not, we'll do what's best for him." Very seriously and very kindly.
Then I suppose we should bring him in.
Hawthorne, you know something is up. They've all gone to talk without you.
I think maybe when they come back out for Hawthorne, he's just not on the ship anymore. Just gone.
Is he taken off, huh? So you three will return to the deck, but Hawthorne has left.
Oof.
Well, find him! You there, go! He starts barking commands. He's not to be harmed, but bring him here!
They can't have gone far. We're on a boat.
So did you use magic to escape, or are you just hiding?
Oh, yeah, magic.
Okay. We'll consider that because that'll be a nice teaser before we move on to the big scene. But I want to do Budapest seasonal action right now.
Great. I think that what I want to do, it's not that I want to go along with this wedding, but I need the queen that's on the throne to be as powerful as the queen that's in the forest. So I think that what I'm going to do is essentially do everything that I can to pin the hopes of the people on this new queen. So I am going to use my powers to essentially, we know that the champions will be traveling to the wedding or whatever,
Yes.
that we will also see if we can arrange it that every house will also bring with it, what do you say, the tokens of its people's, belief in the queen, essentially that sort of thing where we'll have the old church essentially call out its people. We'll give them that chance to like make themselves relevant again. And I'm going to essentially work to essentially have that all of the people that are traveling to the wedding, that there are these caravans where people put their good wishes and sentiments and that sort of thing on there, and that they're sending that belief or whatever to the queen, because she needs to see that, and they need to see that there are other people who support that, and it needs to be physical. And I just destroyed the character sheet, so I lost one of my abilities. I gotta see if I can. Okay, there it is. Got it back. All right.
So how do you want to describe that approach? Who is anyone assisting you in this?
I think in some ways that I think it has to be Kerwolf, because he's got people around and he's got the Royal Army sort of in, kind of thing. And so these have to move by those same sort of set of agents in some ways. I mean, my agents, but his too. That sort of, when the thorns move, so do these caravans. And that essentially it's about that these need to be inspirational and almost like parade floats of a great celebration, but usually like they would do this for religious holidays, but this is for the wedding.
All right. That seems good.
Okay.
This is a difficult task. I mean, you are spreading the word across the land in the dark hours.
Okay, so I think that one of the things that we'll do is once per session, I can add a permanent aspect to a location. So to the royal city and the destination of all of these things, I will make this essentially the seat of hope is the aspect that I will put on it.
Okay. All right. Put that under the royal family just for simplicity's sake.
I will do the planting rumors, and I will essentially plant the rumors that, and essentially it's free invokes on the queen's heir, essentially the young queen. And it will be that she is, let's see here. How about the best of the line?
Okay.
That she is a culmination of all of these generations. And that's 2 invokes on that.
Yeah. So you have 3 invokes right now.
Let's see here.
Do you wish to roll?
Yeah.
So you can get a 0?
Exactly. Yeah, and I suppose that to some extent this is a show of wealth, among other things, though we are asking the regular people, but essentially it's meant to be inspirational. So I guess that's charisma is where inspiration comes from, right?
Yep. Charisma and wealth. So you started at 5. You've got +6 with all your invokes. So right now you're at 11, and then you roll.
Why do you have to put it that way? Okay. Oh, fate. Oh my God. I rolled a +3.
That's wrong.
Okay.
So what makes it spectacular? I mean, because you get you succeed with style on this. What is it like? You Kerwolf, lends, you lean into this, right?
Yeah, we get all the troops together, so it's like a grand military procession. And we start with them at the edges of the realms. So they literally come through the whole country, crisscrossing the country. So like each area can see it as it moves in.
All right.
So we start far out and we move things in, and we want to have a grand profession for each of the great families. with the possible exception of
Irala.
Arala. With the possible exception of Arala.
Okay. So, Rudapest, tell me what makes this for you spectacular and successful.
I think that you understand that when the caravans start, that they start as funeral processions.
Ooh.
And then that's the whole thing is that as they travel, you know, people putting their good wishes and their all that stuff, it turns into a wedding procession. So it is that thing of it is that everyone who touches it turns it from a horrible, sad, you know, grieving time into a time of celebration and hope.
Excellent. And so, I mean, there is the montage of these processions moving across the land to arrive at the capital, to arrive at Grey Battle. Everything is converging there as we get to, you know, the big wedding. The big gathering of the champions as we are getting to essentially the last day of autumn, the next day winter, and there's this ceremonies and gathering points, and we are going to take our 5-minute break, and then we are going to return for that scene.
Just a question, Hawthorne. Have you been in hiding since then, or have you been found?
Well, okay. Here, let me run this by you, Lowell. Sort of where I see things going for Hawthorne, because I didn't
Sure.
start this session with a very clear idea of where I was going to go.
Okay.
So I think, like through the blood of the Evermist thing and corrupted by the Evermist thing, he believes Kerwolf in that our family doesn't have the strength to beat back the Black-Rooted King and all of his forces. But he is convinced, whether it's right or whether this is the Wood speaking to him, that he can become that. The Black-Rooted King wasn't born that, he was made that. And what our family needs is an equal force to oppose it. So I think he's gone off to try and get the Relwyn blade out of their castle before they can gather up and leave. He's going to try to travel to the heart of the Evermist, basically stab it with the Thorn blade and steal its power for himself.
Well, we're going to actually, I think that would be his goals, but I think given the fiction here, I think we're going to take up with these things in place, with, if that's okay.
Yeah, like I said, that's just me sort of spinning out what I see and how it actually goes. I just wanted to give you that before we took the break.
Okay. Well, when we come back, I do want to set the scene, and then I'll have you put your place in where we're at.
Okay.
On that, if that's cool with you.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to take 5, and then we will come back because I'm going to get some more coffee.
Hello.
Hi.
I have already written down and then lost the name of the leader of the Royal Army.
Lady Romana or something like that.
Yeah. Thank you.
That's my job, sir.
Yes, it is. To remember all of the names.
But yeah, Lowell, I think, like, in general for my character, you know, things have gone a certain way at this point.
Well,
and
let me.
I just as a general shape, I'm sort of trying to angle towards like being killed for becoming the monster I'm trying to fight, rather than being imprisoned for being a mad conspirator.
Well, let me put to you, since you put yourself in peril, let me set something up out of that, and let me see if this is going to be okay with you.
Okay.
Because I would love to have you on scene since we're gathering everybody together for this last scene. So you go to the Black-Hearted Forest, right? You try to find a way there. The blades have already gone in the hands of the champions. The protections have been made, but you go to those woods. What is your intent? What do you want to get out of this?
So my original thought was the Evermist woods that are near our lands, that I have some particular connection to them. I was trying to ignore distractions and go to the actual heart of it this time and take the power, like I assume the Black-Rooted King did whenever he became what he is. And my intention is to become a force like him that can actually fight against him for the people of this land. Like I said, I'm fully open to this me being tricked by the power, or it all going bad and I become him again in the end.
Well, so let's say, I think that you can get that power. You can get a power there from those woods, the woods of your homeland, the ones that you grew up with, that you channeled through. What is the visible manifestation of that?
I think it's his skin has become wooden and barky now over a lot of it, but it's that like deep redwood Pacific Northwest sort of coloration to it, rather than the black and twisted of the Black-Rooted King.
All right, that sounds very good. And I can imagine a scene where you kind of draw that power out of these woods, and you will find that as you then head on, after you've gathered that, you can feel the pressures moving against you. When you travel and come in and encounter these other woods, those woods lash against you. That they recognize you as an enemy, as an adversary, and try and stop you. And it's probably exhausting to you trying to evade mundane pursuit, as well as the woods themselves working against you.
All right.
Does that seem good?
Yeah.
Okay. So I would like to set up then. We've got everyone heading to the capital. Our shots are probably of you on the road, Hawthorne, but we've got Rebecca and Kerwolf and Rudapest in the capital. The ceremony is being prepared. Balak is there. the champions have arrived. You have Lady Naisune, who is head of Lone Or. She has taken up the sword. We have a older man from Relwyn, Alanius, who is a veteran with many years of service. And then surprisingly from First Perfect, a younger man, your age or even younger, named Phelan, who is spoken of as the greatest blade that the First Perfects have produced in ever. And they have those blades. And you will note with your keen eye, of course, Rebecca, that each of these blades seems different. There is yours that has that look of chestnut. There is another one that is of ash. And there's another one that looks like it's of pure oak. And a black one that looks like it's made of teak. And each one has a similar shape, but slightly different decorations. And they are all large, powerful swords. So let's maybe get some framing on the scenes that you imagine in the city then. Things that you want to set up, or scenes that you want to show on screen as things are kind of coming to the head. People are cheering out in the streets. There's been these great processions of hope. The Royal Army has appeared. There are no gauntlets to be seen. They are gone. There are maybe a handful of banners of Irala left up just to mark their place, but almost no one from there. And somehow in the center of it are the Soul Wrens moving and setting things up. And of course, there are people from almost all the factions here gathered. Like, for example, the Thieves Guild, because they believe that this is a perfect opportunity to perhaps capture the crow. So, Rebecca, what's the scene we get of you here in the city, or interacting with the others, or what scene do you want to frame?
Trying to think what I would be even trying to accomplish here at this time. I don't think that there is anything. I think that I'd probably just frame more of a color scene.
Okay. Yeah. How do you? I mean, this is kind of the high society, the gatherings of military and all of the lordly things. Maybe not your element. So how do you react to that?
I mean, I'm just enjoying. I'm just kind of along for the ride. Just Charlie Bucket, happy to be here, enjoying the festivities, and probably just like staying with Rudapest, like
watching over her, or just companionably.
I think it's just companionably. Does Rudapest seem nervous about this whole affair, or is she just in her element?
I think that what it is this is her element, but she's really worried about Hawthorne. Like, because he ran away, and now she's not sure what she can do to protect him or help him. So you get that sense that her friends come and go, like they're looking for him, you would guess. So that there's a certain sort of distraction that she carries with her.
And I suspect
this is pretty exciting.
And I suspect that there is that thing throughout this, even though maybe it isn't what you want, but throughout this, Rebecca, there are your people checking in. So in the midst of trying to be normal, there are the messages, there are the check-ins, that sort of thing, as your network keeps working. that seem reasonable?
Yeah.
Kerwolf, what do we see from you in the midst of this?
So we see Kerwolf sort of he's come around. Actually, he's been inspired by Rudapest thing. So I think he actually thinks that there's a chance now. So you see him putting people into place, making sure things are into place. But when he gets a chance, he actually wants to corner a mage. And he wants to force them to send a message to Hawthorne.
All right. So you will find one of the mages from the sort of held by the Royal Army for their utility, and you will strong arm them. And what do you want? What?
I need you to send a message to Hawthorne.
But he is. Go on.
Yeah. Smart to hold your tongue there. Hawthorne, send him a message. Tell him it's from Kerwolf. Tell him to come home and we can face this threat together. Tell him I am proud of the sacrifice he is making for his family.
So, Hawthorne, this mage makes a magical connection with you and gives you this message. What happens to this mage?
This is Kerwolf. Are you sending this from Rin's Nest, or are you in the capital already?
We're in the capital. We're in the capital. So this is one of the other Imperial mages. So it's either his chambers. I got him secluded somewhere with just me and him, I think.
I think he. Yeah. So as he's doing the spell, he's finished the ritual and the message, and he begins to just a little after it's over, and and as it gets worse, there's tendrils that come out of his mouth as ferns begin erupting from his mouth.
And it'll collapse to the ground as those enwrap and cover his body.
Okay, at this point, I'll run him through with the blade.
Okay. And when you do bring that sword and strike into him, immediately the ferns and the leaves they shrivel and pull in. And Hawthorne, that hurts.
Owie.
Not my intention.
So let's cut to Rudapest. What do we see from the scene for you?
Okay. Oh man, there's so many different things that we could do. I mean, there's that super cute Phelan First Perfect that I can't imagine that the queen-to-be couldn't possibly be attracted to when she saw him. So there's just this little bratty part of me that wants to put that little wedge between First Perfect and Relwyn, that, well, Relwyn may be the queen's husband. It's pretty clear who's going to be the queen's consort, if that makes any sense.
Sure. How do you carry that out?
Oh, it's just that whole thing of there's just never quite enough information. So all you have to do is say, oh my goodness, even the queen has noticed how handsome Phelan First Perfect is. And you get that everyone else does all of the work for her on that.
That you're rumor mongering there?
Yes, exactly. It's just so easy.
Does it seem like something we actually want to roll for here?
No.
Okay. So that
I just think it just works on its own. That's a zero effort thing.
So that is out in the air. And Hawthorne, how do you make your way into the city?
So I think at this point he is like he's really tired. It's not gone well. He knows that he looks very different, although he doesn't care as much about that as maybe he should. But he knows that his appearance is a dead giveaway. He still has illusions, but they're not like the bright and sparkling and perfect and clean version of himself that he'd kept around. His clothes are travel worn. His face looks haggard, and just every now and then bits and pieces of the illusion will slip, and sort of his barky persona comes through in bits. I think he's skulking through the back streets of the city, and so this is sort of a take it as read, but I like it for the fiction of I'm going to use my lore master here to say something about the threat, which is,
Sure.
we have all these forces ostensibly gathering to move in strength down on Deoto, where the center of the Black-Rooted King's power is, but that's where the center of the forest magic is. You don't have a king and a queen if you're not going to have a throne. So I think Hawthorne has figured out that this confrontation is going to take place at the in the city here at the coronation. I think that was pretty obvious, but I think this is how he comes to it.
Perfect.
So I'm sort of spreading my influence throughout the city, trying to get things prepared, which mostly looks like in any sort of cracks in the street or planters, there are these ferns popping up, especially around the palace itself.
I'm going to do one scene, and then I want to move to a crisis moment. And that is, Hawthorne, that as you move past a tree here, an older tree, you will see it shift and transform, and you will see a humanoid figure. And it will say, "Child, let me make you an offer. If you will listen to me in this. Will you listen to me in this?"
I'm always willing to learn more about my foe.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Listen, we need not fight. I need an heir. Come and join with me, and I will make you that heir, and we will bring a new kingdom on this world. And your family, they shall be the lords and knights of this realm. And then we shall bring the green throughout the world. Come. Aren't you tired? I can see it. Your weary flesh. You've walked for days. And that wound upon your breast, your own father strike at you with a weapon? And your father, I've heard. Do you think when all of this is said and done, they will let you live?
I think I have worked very hard to become the thing that my family expects of me.
Oh, yes.
No, I am here to stop you. That's what I've done all this for. I didn't do this for myself. I didn't do this for power. I did this for our family.
You had a chance to join with another family. You will fall like the rest. And this tree will just kind of collapse into sort of dust and wood pulp there.
I think Hawthorne like collapses to his knees and is panting and sweating.
And you guys will probably hear then the sound of the bells of warning of the clarions. It is the perhaps the third hour after midnight here on the day before the wedding. The wedding is tomorrow, is the morning after this, and you're hearing the bells and alarms. Rudapester, were you asleep? Were you awake?
I have to imagine that Rebecca and she were still up. There's so much stuff going on just in the sort of excitement thing, but also there's that sort of nervous anxiety about Hawthorne not being back, and about what's happened to him. So I'm thinking we were both up.
Okay, Rebecca, Rudapest, you're both up and you're hearing the alarms, the cries, the sounds from the walls and elsewhere across the city. What do you two do? What do you do?
Well, I guess this changes things, because I was going to present, essentially, this is kind of a flashback, that she had arranged a sword for the gentleman that was sort of the champion of the royal family itself.
Mm-hmm.
So essentially, we can go through that, but her thing is that her seasonal action, the one that no one could see, was her arranging for a sword made by the lone ore craftsman, but actually with materials gathered from all the other families.
Okay.
And of course, she happens, many of her manipulations were just to get it into her hands to present it. So if that makes any sense. So now she's got this thing and has to run it to him.
Okay, so we see you rushing out with this blade.
Mm-hmm.
Rebecca, it looks like Rudapest is going to run out, into this craziness.
Yeah, I will. I mean, I'll be getting to a safe place. That's my plan.
Okay, so where do you go to keep yourself safe? Where do you head?
I imagine that we're staying in the castle or something, or I don't know where they'd be keeping all of the noble families somewhere safe. So
yeah, the great castle, that the battlements and the walls, it is large at the center of the city there. You have your wing of it. We'll say it's a pentagon shaped walls. So you're at one of the 5 wings. Where would you go?
I mean, I would just go to the keep, I guess.
Okay, and as you head out into the night and you can see that there are trees growing up over the city's walls, and you can even from here hear the cracks as the roots are going through the mortar and the stone and are starting to pull those apart, and down in the streets throughout. You will see any kind of trees or any kind of vegetation; those are exploding and blooming, and you can smell that sort of the scent of flowers and trees, and all of that is overwhelming to you here as you rush across. Some people are running out to see what's going on in the city, and various people are heading towards the central keep there. And Rudapest, where is the person that you are looking for?
Shard is here at the castle, of course.
Okay.
And so it is pretty much a matter of negotiating further deeper into the more into the parts of the castle that are for the royal household itself.
All right. And it's chaos.
Okay.
I mean, it's gone from celebration, and while people were nervous and there was certainly a feeling that something could happen, there was also, this is the revels the night before, and they can feel the vibration of the very stones of the city as things are shaking there. And so you will make your way across. Kerwolf, what about you?
I want to send out a summons to the other champions. Let's protect the queen.
Okay, so send your men out rushing across the places there.
Yeah, he stops to talk to just a little sapling that there. He's like, "Boy, I hope you're here." You know, obviously not knowing how magic works. And then he's gonna.
Right.
That's amazing.
And then he's gonna go. Yeah, let's try to summon the other champions and let's protect the queen.
Okay.
He's gonna pull in, you know, whatever forces he has, and then he'll turn to the royal. If he'll send a message to the army representative, "Axes, you fools!"
So you send word out that is going on. Hawthorne, even as this figure drops, you start feeling the shift of pressure and this change in the magic that is here. And this has come. The forest has come to Gray Battle. Where do you go? How do you operate from here?
So I think here in the chaos of everyone sort of running around, like I'm working my way closer to the palace, and I think as I get around the palace, just in some like alley between two buildings, as people are running by on either side, and there's these plants going crazy and everywhere, I think I just sort of unexpectedly dead or cold run across Rudapest, like just face to face with her around a corner.
Oh, awesome.
Okay. Budapest, you will see your cousin.
Okay. And so she's carrying a sword box. This is not the sort of Budapest you're used to. She's like in her night clothes, and she has this sword thing that she's carrying, and she sort of whips into you. And he looks different, but he still looks like Hawthorne, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. And she's like, "Hawthorne, we were waiting for you." And she throws her arms around you. And she's like, "You've got to get me to Shard, and then we've got to figure out what to do. What do we need to do?" And she's got her arm around yours, and she's sort of still trying to get towards the place where she needs to find Shard.
And he'll lean in and hug you back. Cousin, I didn't expect to run across you here. This is a very dangerous place. Shard?
And she goes, "Yeah." And she sort of stops, and so she's like thrown this cloak over her nightgown for a certain amount of modesty, but she actually takes it off and gives it to you so you can put it over your face, you know, essentially pull the hood up. And,
as you do, like he sort of, I think part of his illusion was slipping, and he sort of pushes it back up.
Okay. And she goes, "Shard, he's the royal family. We have to have a representative from the royal family, at least if we're going to do this like we did before." She goes, "What's happening? Are they all here?"
He couldn't bring all of his forces this far. This is more a show of strength than it is an overwhelming power. He can be fought. Yes. I will help you find Shard. We must have the ritual go off correctly. If the Orala have ruined our chances to do it the same, we at least need to get it as close as possible.
Okay. She absolutely trusts you, Hawthorne.
And you guys begin to move. Rebecca, you are moving through the hallways, moving down. You're faster than anyone would give you credit for. And you will come down into one of these lower halls, and you will come into a scene of chaos. You will see that there are men that have fallen, and there are a couple of soldiers left, and there are these, for lack of a better term, wood golems that have arisen and you see that they have stunned and cornered Naisuni Lone Or, the head of that household, sister of the man that you killed. She has her blade and she's trying to fight back, but she has been wounded. They clearly took her and her men by surprise. What do you do?
So she has the shard weapon.
She has her thorn. It's the thorn of oak.
Okay. Yeah, I'll use this Master of Disguise to just drop away, fade away from this scene.
Okay. All right. You will be able to vanish out as Lady Lone Or falls under the assaults of these wood golems and is crushed beneath them. But you will be able to get away. Let's cut to Kerwolf. Kerwolf, you've made your way down, heading towards where the royal forces are, when the walls splinter open as old roots and things, form up, and there is essentially a wall of thorns that is attempting to essentially assault and attack you. So you can hear the screams of your attachés behind you as they are enwrapped in it. So describe to me how you want to deal with this situation.
Oh, we're just cutting our way out. We're going to use the blade and just slash straight through.
Okay, let's have you roll force here.
All right. So just the force?
Yep.
Oh, I got a -2.
Okay, so you're at a 1. Let me roll for its attack here. So it's at right now at a 6.
Okay, so I got Unrelenting Fury.
Okay.
To overcome her attack.
And so that gives you a +2, right?
Yep. And then does
so
I'm at a 3. Would duelists come into play? You're a warrior, so gangs of enemies 1 tier higher operate +1 tier personality against a single enemy, allowing you to crush unworthy.
Okay, so yeah, I'll give you a +1. So you're at a 4 against their 6.
A 4 against their 6. All right, I'm gonna I'll reveal the next aspect. I'll be the champion of Soul Ren.
Okay. So that will get you to a 6. That's a tie. So you'll be kind of things have not progressed. There's kind of a deadlock there.
And then I'm going to spend a point for my troops to get the one up on that. So even though my guys my attachés are dying, that they're providing some support.
Okay, so with that +2, you're able to, just barely cut through and make your way out to the courtyard. And you can see that there are forces amassing and moving left, right, and center. Rudapest and Hawthorne, you will enter into this chaos there. And you will move to one of the great halls, and you will see that there are forces. You can see that Alenius Relwyn is there, has his blade out, but he's looks injured, and that shard is there trying to hold back these forces, and they are rolling to try and overwhelm.
So I think as we come in, Hawthorne has been leading the way through this, sort of trying to protect Rudapest and guide her through. And as we get there, and they're fighting these wood golems.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's just this wave of like sprouts that run along the cracks in the floor and sort of spring up into a defensive wall in front of Shard and the other one as they're holding back those golems as we rush forward to them.
Okay, let's have you make that roll. Your magic is you're doing this fast, so I'll let you roll on speed.
Okay. Wow. So that's an 8 to start with.
Woo. Oh God. I rolled 4 minuses.
Wow.
So yeah, you spring up that barrier between them and kind of push them back away. And Rudapest, what do you do?
I immediately run up to Shard and I'm like, this is the sword. This is the sword that's been made for you. And essentially, I essentially have the box out and I let him open it to take it out.
And he will drop whatever makeshift blade he has in hand, and he will take that up. He takes your hand,
Mm-hmm.
and he will bow and kiss that. There's some blood there, but he does that, and then turns to try and help Rowan and begin to cut their way towards the chapel.
All right.
Sound good?
Yes, it does. Essentially, she looks kind of. Hawthorne will see her sort of when she's standing there, and she sort of, you can see that moment when she realizes that she's standing there in her nightgown, and she gets really uncomfortable. And so she sort of puts the box down and she runs back over to you like that's where it's safe.
And I think I'll hand your cloak back to you. I think the time for probably passed.
All right. Rebecca, where do we find you?
I don't know. I'm just kind of like hiding out, waiting for the moment when I need to appear miraculously to help just in the nick of time. So
okay. So do we find you at do we spot you, moving through the shadows, making your way towards somewhere?
I think that you just see like she's tucked away somewhere, and it's unclear like what she's disguised as right now, as she's in the darkness, but there's just like people running hither and thither and they're getting just massacred, but she keeps managing to dodge this and move about quietly in the shadows.
And there will be that moment when you will feel that shift, and you will see one of your the picked lieutenants, the people who are your hand-trained persons in the field, and they appear. I mean, as you've taught, they vanish, they come back. Is it male or female?
It would be a male.
Okay. He's an older gentleman. He appears, he probably looks like a butler. That's his disguise, and he will say, "Mistress, we have a route out prepared. We have a way to escape. I have set the men, and if you'll come with me, we can get you free of this chaos."
Keep the route clear. I have a few more things to attend to.
Well, I do not know how long we will be able to hold. If you come with us now, we know you will live.
Just keep doing your best. I cannot withdraw just yet.
You see him consider for a moment, like maybe he should do something, but he will nod very well, and he will fall back into the shadows as you would do. All right. So in the cathedral, we can see that the champions that live fall back into there. We can see Kerwolf having broken through. There are some forces left, but there are trees growing up around the chapel, the central part of that. Rudapest, Hawthorne, you've fallen back into there. You will see Phelan, First Perfect. He is up close by the queen, the heir, and defending her. Though there seems to be some weird tension going on because her husband, maybe not the greatest swordsman, but he's trying to keep his blade out during all this as the wood benches and things themselves begin to transform. You are with Elanius, Relwyn, and Shard. But Lonor is nowhere to be found. And so you will see that you have but 3 of the blades plus this other one, even as the walls begin to shift and wood here forms up, and you will see this figure forming as the black-rooted king comes for his own. So this seems like a good time to move to a kind of a montage here, if we may. Does that sound good?
Mm-hmm.
Since we're kind of at that last 15, we're going to do a montage, and then we'll do an epilogue here. So who wants to kind of start out the scene, set things up? No one wants to. So let's start with Hawthorne to kind of start this moment. We'll come back to you, but what do we see here in this moment that goes on?
So I think as we bust in and there's the king, is the queen anywhere around, the dead queen?
The dead queen is not present here.
Okay. So as things start to engage, like the black-rooted king, he's got these trees and these plants that are, I'm assuming, coming in to fight for him. Does he have golems too?
Mm-hmm.
So I think as they engage with like the last of our forces, Hawthorne there with Rudapest coming in behind them will he starts trying to grab hold of some of these plants around to start using them, but it's hard to fight the king's influence, and he ends up having to push too hard to call up this field of sort of mobile brambles with these giant thorns that'll start stabbing through basically the wooden golems and the general forces alike.
All right. So you are doing that. It is taxing. It is exhausting here as you are making those shifts. People are falling back to the main altar where the queen is at, up there by the throne. So Kerwolf, what do we see from you?
Kerwolf fights his way over towards Hawthorne.
Okay.
So they can get close. When they get close there, he looks at him and says, "You can do this, boy," and he tosses the blade to him.
Oh god. Oh crap.
And then he turns. He has a like a hatchet there as well. So he just switches weapons and goes back into the fight after giving Hawthorne the blade.
Into the fray. He's lost the blade that was helping him fight, but he goes back into it. And Hawthorne, you have this blade, and it almost burns in your hand. Let's cut to Rudapest.
Well, there she is in her nightgown, and so and so she backs up towards the throne too, and I think there's that thing where because the guys are all sort of in front of him and everything, she's backed up. She's actually by the queen, and she sort of reaches over and grabs her hand, and she does this, like she puts her hand up like she's the damsel in distress and does the, but she kind of gives the queen a side eye, like we're just pretending, so that they think that we're scared, just to kind of give her some what do you say, a little bit of courage that they've still got control over something, and that's how they react. Does that make any sense?
Oh yeah, and the forces are pressing in. The king, the swordsmen are doing what they can, but
here's where I'm gonna spend my on time.
All right,
Thanks.
And I will also, if it is agreeable to our game master, I will check the box in peril to say that I have that sword that was dropped earlier.
Wet with her blood, but yes, you have it. And describe to me how this appears, how you bring the fifth sword to bear.
I have disguised myself. It has taken some time. I have disguised myself as one of these tree golems, and I just like pull off this rooted helm and just jam the sword into the king, and I'm like just screaming for everyone, like, now's your chance, like attack now.
So perfect, and you hit it from the blind side, and you do drive it forward as this blade goes into it, and it staggers forward, and the others, at least three of the others, move to strike, and blow, strike, and Hawthorne.
Yeah, so as this happens, Hawthorne, he looks down at this blade, he looks over at Kerwolf, and he runs forward. This wave of brambles, it precedes him and grabs around the king's limbs, holding him in place as he will stab through him right through the chest.
And yeah, it will sink in, and you can see it, try to break through. It tries to tear at it, but you have gathered other strength of the wood to hold it, and this blade goes in, and you can almost feel like the five blades kind of meet in the body here, and it will go still like a great wooden sculpture, and everything that is in here, wood, golems, people holding, all of that goes from animate to inanimate in a heartbeat. So, Hawthorne, what is your epilogue?
Did he have his black blade with him?
You tell me.
I think he did, and I think it falls into Hawthorne's grip as he freezes up there.
This one doesn't burn.
And I think he erupts into that blue flame and sort of screams in pain and joy, sort of thing. And before he disappears into the floor, he will grab that the Soul Rin blade.
Okay.
And pull it out and throw it to Kerwolf and say, I let you have this for a reason. Continue your vigilance. And he'll disappear.
Crackle. Some of the other wood around there cracks and blackens from that. Kerwolf, the blade lands by you. You've got wounds and cuts. These axes are chipped and torn. What's your epilogue?
So Kerwolf picks up the blade, from this thing, And then, we cut months later. Months later, Kerwolf has stepped down from the guard. He stepped down, and he's living in a small hut in the woods off near the Soul Mist there, where you can see he takes daily walks in the woods to try to talk to Hawthorne. He doesn't call him boy anymore.
Oh, nice.
But you can see he's proud of his son. I don't know if Hawthorne ever talks back to him, but he does take daily walks out into those woods, and he's just living in a small hut out in the woods there.
I think it's less common to see him, but occasionally he does. He is there, and he will talk back to Kerwolf, and it's a strain. He lets slip that he's fighting against influences, and it helps to have Kerwolf there, but he doesn't know if it'll last forever.
Okay, so that's sort of the epilogue there. He still has the blade there in that cottage with him, and then that's sort of the last that last scene for him.
Rebecca, what is the epilogue for you?
I think it's an indiscriminate amount of time later. It's hard to say. It's hard to say when exactly this is going on. But it is, there are just trees kind of in odd places, in civilization right now, but they're just still, just regular old trees. And I think that we see that Lenore stronghold that we had described last session with the water works and the stone everywhere, and she is putting the final touches on her next big push to move the wealth from the Lenores to her own family.
Casing the joint.
Yeah.
Do you still have the Lenore blade then?
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect.
I don't like carry it around, but
right.
I have it.
And lastly, Budapest, epilogue from you.
Oh, sure. I think she is the closest confidant to the new queen. She does everything she can to cement the power of that queen. Her fiance is Phelan, and she and the queen and Phelan, and they have a certain agreement. And for the most part, things go pretty well in the royal city for the Soul Ren at this point.
Awesome. And that is it. That is where we will stop, you guys. If you have a minute, I would like to do Roses and Thorns. And go through. So I will say my thorn for this is that I was a little torn because I did want to move to some kind of conclusion today. And I think maybe that came at the expense of doing more of the kind of the higher level social stuff. So I'm not sure about how well I did that balance today. But I think it was tough. But I'm not sure I hit that as well as I would have liked. I mean, I liked how it went. I liked the story. I liked the setup. But I feel like that there's a choice I had to make about whether we would just continue on with sort of the setup or whether we would move to something. And I always like a conclusion. So that's me. So that's my thorn for today. Patrick.
So like I said, I had a really busy week, and I didn't think about where I wanted to end all this as much as I feel like I could have. So I did feel sort of lost in the first part of the session. I like what I ended up hitting on, but like in a lot of games, I worry about like veering the storyline too much into my sort of lane of things. I That's what goes on in my head. I worry about that sort of thing a lot. But the system, yeah, I would have loved more of the like dealing with the political stuff and the sort of scenes between us, but there are so many natural constraints to just 4 sessions, and especially like play testing and feeling out a new system. So that didn't bug me too much, and I agree with you. I like coming to sort of a conclusion. If this is going to be all we play for it, I want a high point.
Yeah. I'll say with that, you make an interesting point. I almost wish I hadn't done a supernatural threat, a threat as supernatural as that in some ways. But you know, once you cast those dice at the start, you kind of have to follow through. So, James, Thorns.
So I got to agree. I want to agree with you on the politics thing. That didn't quite hit in this session. But I think when the apocalypse happens, a lot of that sort of infighting ceases. So I'm not sure there's a way when you have this overt. I'm not sure there's a way you could be around it. And I imagine when we see, I haven't watched the current season of Game of Thrones. I imagine when we see it come to the end, I think the politics will fall by the wayside, just like in here. As the supernatural threat becomes the focus. I feel like it's just, it's the apocalypse. It's overwhelming. So I think if you wanted that more influence, I think you hit it on the head there of not having this overwhelming supernatural threat.
Okay. Yeah. Anything
Other than that, we
else?
we just talked about that refresh, before.
Yeah.
And this is the last session, so that didn't really come into play. But I was thinking you might want to do something, from a playtest point of view, where you get 1 back per season, possibly, and then you could take actions. Basically, you could spend your actions doing downtime to get more, to do force a refresh.
Yeah.
Like you have to spend time for a refresh.
Yeah, and that's sort of how I had it. One of the things is, of course, I'm following Blades in the Dark by having 2 actions supposedly per downtime, but
Yep.
the actions are rich enough. It's hard to do 2 in some ways.
And I liked. Okay, well, all right, I'll stop because I was about to go into roses.
No. We're family on. David?
No roses. No roses. Yeah.
Yeah. I thought that we told a good story with the supernatural threat. I think you did what was going to be best with that, but naturally time constraints, so we're not going to be able to do the political intrigue. I'm still just struggling with the build your role. It just takes so long, and it really takes you out of the fiction. And I feel like we never get past a surface level. We don't have a deep. We kind of do sometimes when we actually go to a dialogue scene. But that's not what the majority of play is, and that's just not what I'm used to.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you can tell this kind of story without doing that.
Yeah.
That's the only thing.
I definitely agree with I feel a sort of non-proficiency with the system too that was slowing down my decision making.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, it what I've got here, if I could figure out a way to streamline it, that would help. I also think that, structurally that this is a really challenging thing to do. That's why I'm curious. I'm going to run Legacy 2nd edition off of what he's got, and I'll be very curious to see what changes he's made to accommodate that switch of levels. Because we had, David, you were in that. We found that was kind of odd.
Yeah, it was tricky to do it in that game too. I think in that game we had more of the low-level interaction than the high-level interaction. In this game, we've had a lot more high-level.
Yeah.
Big. The seasonal actions are really, really big things happening. That might be, if you could streamline seasonal actions, that might be the trick.
Mm-hmm.
The other actions could still be all this, but it's the seasonal actions that are really high level, low dialogue. But I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough. I have to really
Oh,
think about this.
It's so tricky.
Yeah.
To go back to
Sherry? Oh, go on.
Oh, sorry.
James.
just adding on that, to go back to the old birthright model, how they used to have their domain actions and then adventures. You could do some of these actions off screen. Like you could do, like, I don't know if you set it up that people say, this is the action I want to do when you're doing one action per session, one season action. And they could set it up, put it all out, do the dice roll, even before you sit down to play. Like kind of go like half play by post, half play in person. I don't know if that's it. So you're sort of doing like a board game aspect of your domain level actions, and then when you sit down to play, you jump into the detail. I don't know, just yeah.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
I'm talking as I think.
Alternatively, because I played some Birthright too. Like I think it benefits from intentional mode switching. So if you were doing like a 6-game run of it or something, I think you could feel more comfortable with saying like, okay, this session we're going to do all this high level interaction stuff, these seasonal house actions, and then next session we're going to forget all of that and we're going to come in and we're going to do an adventure at character level, and then after that we go back to sort of even if it's not necessarily episode by episode, split up that cleanly, but sort of an intentional switch between, okay, we've had enough time playing with the mechanics of countries, let's get back into our characters and do something really meaty and interesting.
And if you when you played Birthright back in the day, there was very much an intentional, almost like board game element. Like the domain level was very sort of board game-ish versus the adventure, which was more role-play game-ish.
I still like that. I like the play out of the seasonal actions. Though I wonder if a happy compromise might be to say, you're going to do several seasonal actions. We're going to play one out. The other ones we're just going to kind of roll and resolve, and you get to choose which one that we're going to zoom in on.
Yeah.
Sherry, let me get your thorns.
I think one of the things is that fate is a really weird thing because essentially it is you put a lot of load on the player to describe how they're taking their moves and fitting them into the fiction. And so there's a sort of thing of, since we haven't had enough or as much time to live with the world, sometimes that feels very fumbly. Like you're going, and I think I can do this because, and now you have to come up with the reason why, or you say something and then you realize that it kind of clashes with what has come before. So it's that sort of thing of, there's almost something that, it's almost like you just always need just a little bit more time to get this comfortable. If that makes any sense. It is like, so that's what I'm thinking, is that I feel that it makes fate is always harder on the player. It's always harder on the player to come up with how that looks, how this approach is going to work and stuff. And then you combine it with a lot of things happening at a lot of different levels that they aren't an expert on all of them. So now they're trying to picture what their version of the church is or what the household is like, and trying to remember all the other things. So there's a certain load there that I think needs some time and decompression, and definitely a collaborative build of the kingdom.
I
don't know if that's a true thorn, but it's.
I think that is. It's a good criticism and a good thing to think about. Okay, I'll go to Roses. And I want to say there are some moments from the 4 sessions, some scenes that stand out really vividly for me. Like they were good. I mean, good, vivid things that are gonna stay in my mind. Rudapest's embarrassment, Hawthorne's murder of the thing. The whole tower thing today is that's a striking visual for me that I had that hadn't occurred to me. Kerwolf dealing with that woman last session. There are a lot of really good scenes that I went, oh yeah, that's good. That looks good on screen. It feels right. It felt like a nice culmination of things. So that's my Roses. That's what I dug. Patrick?
I thought this was a really fun, really great game, from the mechanical, like, game aspects of it, and the group and storyline that we had. I really appreciate people being willing to go with, like, okay, apparently I'm turning into an evil tree monster thing in our low magic Game of Thrones world. Sorry. But I think the system is like a streamlining pass away from being a really great campaign length game. I think you would really get a lot out of it going into the point where you get really familiar with the system, you get really familiar with the options in the world, and you play out these long arcing stories where you could do political arcs and a magical arc and play with different sorts of things. And I think the nature of Fate there, where it's all just sort of on a wheel, like you work yourself up just to use it all and spend yourself back down and have to work yourself back up again. I think Fate would really help in that sort of longer look at a game.
It's interesting because, of course, Wrath of the Autarch, the one sort of kingdom building game for Fate that I have, has a lot of mini game things, which I'm not as digging, but it's like, okay, you're gonna run this 20 sessions. That's just it. No compromise. That's how long it takes to play it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a shortened version. I don't have a quick start.
And I think
sessions.
I think this gives you like 9/10 of the way there to having all the tools you need to tell these sorts of epic stories and to move yourself into these different modes that this sort of game could fill. I really like it.
James, roses?
I think you're really on to something here. I think it really does do that high level play very well. I mean, we talk about how the actions go, but I think that's just part of how it plays. So I don't really consider that necessarily a negative. It's kind of like when you play Microscope. You know, you're playing sort of at this high level, and that's what you're experiencing. So if that's what, you know, if this game is set up to do these bigger or seasonal story arcs, it does that very well. So I think it does accomplish what it sets out to do. I enjoyed the storyline overall. I found the whole concept of the Forest Lich rather fascinating. So kudos to whoever came up with that in the first. I missed that setup session, but kudos to whoever's idea that was. That was quite good.
I think
thank
that
you,
was Patrick making that pretty dark.
Okay. And then thanks, Patrick, for doing the father-son thing. I hope I wasn't berating you too much with that as the harsh, uncompromising father. But
no, I love that shit, and again, you like continued to surprise me with things that you would pull out, and I constantly felt that push from you of like, let's make this better, and by better I do mean worse.
Yeah. And then and this was just you know, kudos to you here that I had a full like roller coaster with Kerwolf, which isn't normal. Like, he actually, like, at the beginning of the end of last session and stuff, Kerwolf was really down in the dumps, and really thought thought we were going to lose. And then Rudapest, you brought him, you know, with that whole thing. I was like, oh, we can really do this. It's like I actually felt that emotional roller coaster that Kerwolf had there.
Awesome.
And it was great because I got to end on a high note there from hating it. You know, you get that despair of truly hating himself to really feeling good about things in the end. So
nice pathos. David, roses?
Yeah, I don't think that there's another game out there that you could tell a story that has these levels. Like for all of the hangups I have for the mechanics side of thing, like there's not another game that does this really that I've played that does it really well. And this did it really, really well. We told a really compelling story. It was very, very interesting. I liked all of the characters. I liked the world. I liked all the factions and the intricacies of that. And seeing that interplay happen. And I can definitely see how that would, like, continuing forward, it would just get like more and more like rich. So all those things were really good. I think the world building from session 1 was like a big part of the success of that.
Mhm.
But yeah,
I
that
felt
was
very good about what everyone came up with there.
yeah, that was really satisfying. Yeah. Outside of a game of Microscope, I don't think you could tell a story quite like this. And even in Microscope, you're not going to get the perspective of one family's struggle.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a struggle because there was mechanical blocks in your way where even if you did decide to say in Microscope, oh, we're telling the story of the rise of this family and like pretend you're members of the family for certain scenes. Even if you did that, there wouldn't be these struggle in the same way.
Yeah, there's no resolution system. Good point.
Right.
Sherry, last word, roses?
I think that essentially this game is kind of, you take Kingdom and then you let us get into the weeds with it, is what it is. So you have this thing of where we're all trying to preserve a situation. You deal with the dramatic constraints, but we get to figure out how we do things. And the thing I've always loved about Fate is that the solutions that people come up with, they have so much freedom to do it that they pull out really awesome things that would have never occurred to me, that, because it's unbound by the system in any way. But this works for me as a less dry Kingdom, and that could go on and on. Like I said, I do think a long form campaign is going to be much more rewarding and delicious and rich. So
give it space to breathe. If we had more sessions. Well, thanks everybody for trying this out. I appreciate you taking the risk, and this is almost the end of my Fate month. And it's been fun to have a chance to go back and try some new stuff here. So I really appreciate you doing that. And I'm going to stop the broadcast.